This video is for a very dear friend of mine who has recently become a very dear friend of mine here on YouTube, Ms. Sherrie Lea. I've swapped with her numerous times over the months in our fight against Alex Jones and his disinformation, but she and I are on the same wavelength on all kinds of things, and it's always great to meet somebody that agrees with pretty much everything you say and who you agree with everything they say. Not everything, but I mean, that's what makes friendship fun, is when you might slightly disagree or you try to work something out in a fun conversation. This is a response to her video about the Rothschilds and hoax people in general. Well, Sherrie, spent a lot of time trying to work this out myself. There's the classic hoaxes, and the most frustrating thing about the grandiose hoax is how so few people realize what it is. That people were fooled by the moon, it makes sense then, because put something on live television like that, there's no way people would think, oh no, that's not real. The whole planet was watching that. That was bigger than when the Beatles were on the Ed Sullivan Show. That is probably the biggest thing that was ever on television, where the whole planet's watching at the same time. I saw the lunar module at the Smithsonian Museum. They don't let you go in the thing for a reason, because it's probably all cardboard inside. Well, it looks like cardboard on the outside, too. And ironically, and appropriately, they got the Star Trek Enterprise hanging right next to it. As if, wink, wink, here are two television film props that we used on film sets. You idiots. I mean, just getting into all the details about the moon hoax and why it's a hoax and why people should notice, and, you know, to go that far with it, it's an insult to your own intelligence. You just got to point out a few things. You don't even have to point out the stuff about how there's no blast crater and how, you know, how the camera tilt when the lunar module took off. It's like, who was manning the camera if they all left at the same time, that kind of junk. How the same mountain shape was in the background, with the lunar module there, and then with it not there, when you're supposed to believe that the lunar module didn't move the whole time. And just, you know, if it's 1/6 gravity, they would have been able to bounce way up in the air and stuff. And just the suits, those hokey suits, the cameras, the film would have just melted in those cameras. The temperature differences out there, the heat and the cold would have ruined the film. And there's not enough oxygen in that little cramped space for 2 weeks with 3 guys. They wouldn't last a few days. Not to mention the human body does not function outside of the planet. We need all of the things about the planet. We are symbiotic. The gravity, the magnetism, all of the bioessences, the ley line energy of the Earth, it's all in our life essence. And the distance that we are from the moon does something to us. If you get close to the moon, it messes up the distance factor. The moon has a lot to do with our life force. So if you go to the moon, you're going to have a heart attack. You're just going to have a heart attack. You freak out. Just the thought that, oh God, once we get out there, nobody is going to be able to save us if something goes wrong. That would be a major panic. I mean, maybe you could train a human being to be ready for something like that, but it defies logic. Then you got the Van Allen belts and all kinds of things. And just the basic fact that nothing went wrong. Nothing went off without a hitch. Went there, came back. Neil Armstrong does his crazy little scripted line, "There's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." As if that wasn't written out on a piece of paper. If you got out of the moon, you'd be like, holy shit, this is amazing. That's what he would have said. And then in Australia, you got the Coke bottle shot. But the list is huge. And even the NASA spokesmen that run the interference on the conspiracy shows to defend NASA, they're kind of laughing at themselves too. It's like, yeah, it's my job to not say that it's a hoax, but Look at my eyes, look at my, you know. Buzz Aldrin almost came real close to admitting it a couple of times. And Neil Armstrong wouldn't give an interview. I mean, he never really gave an interview talking about it. Now, come on. It's kind of like his American duty to talk to us about that. What gets me about all of these hoaxes is how quiet people are. Can you imagine what they must do to shut everybody up? I kind of wondered to myself, to keep all the 9/11 people quiet, what did they do? Even the firemen. The firemen that knew, that saw the dead bodies in Building 7, they had to do something about that. Because there's no explaining that. Dead bodies in Building 7, it wasn't hit by a plane at 9 in the morning. So, those firemen knew something was up. And so, they were all bribed probably. They were probably like, alright, first of all, you lose your job, you say anything. Second of all, we'll kill you. Third of all, we're going to give you $200,000. Fourth of all, here's a guy that we just pulled out of San Quentin or whatever, you know, a prisoner. Let's just say just some death row guy. We're going to kill him, capital punishment anyway, but we just want to show you a visual what we'll do to you if you say anything about what you actually saw. And they blow his brains out right in front of the person. I know that's how the government does it, when they give you the talk. Because one of the most amazing things about all these conspiracies is how no one comes forward. Like the main people. Can you imagine like Donald Rumsfeld coming forward and saying, okay, here's what happened. No, it never happens. So they must do something really atrocious to scare these people. Or, like some conspiracy people say, that, you know, this is a whole group of people that are bred their whole lives to have these parts. You know, the serpentine people breed them in cages, or I don't know. Maybe they're clones. Maybe they're not even real human beings. Maybe they're like the reptilians in remember the V TV series? Maybe they are reptiles with human skin all over them. I don't know. But it's getting to the point where everybody knows. Each hoax they put out, like Sandy Hook, nobody bought that. And I'm sure the establishment is making a note of that. That was different. I saw the Gifford shooting. Not close, but I was there. She was not shot. That guy's going crazy with the bullets. The bullets didn't hit anything. None of the glass. He was shooting directly at the Safeway in Tucson, at Ina and Oracle. And they had the supermarket shut down for the next 4 days, and I'm going to upload some video to prove to you that I was there. I'm going to find the video. I went there when they let us close for the memorials where they had flowers, and I wrote a poem out, and I set it down next to the flowers. And it's titled Freedom Flies. And I filmed me setting it down, so you can see that I'm there the day after. So that's the best I can do to prove to you that I was there for the event. My mom lived down the street, and I was taking care of her because she was sick. But that was bullshit. I really think the only person that died was the judge. I mean, they even had a little girl in there that they said was born on 9/11. I mean, they really pushed the envelope with this stuff. My personal theory is that they do these kinds of things to test the public, to see, it's an intelligence test, to see how dumb everybody really is. How gullible people are. They need to test the waters to see how resistant we are, or how willing we are to be, just be gullible and compliant. Will they fight back? And they got to test that all the time. I don't know what they're going to do next. You know that this year they're going to hit us with some horrible weather thing. This year is going to be a weather thing. An earthquake. That's what I think. An earthquake. They haven't hit us with a major earthquake in the United States in a long time. Is it going to be California? Is it going to be the New Madrid fault? Yeah, it's going to be one of the big ones. I think it'll be this year. And I don't even think they can do anything about the EMP, is it the electromagnetic pulse from the sun? Some of the physicists are saying, the guy that I really trust is Dr. Schock at Boston University, the man that proved that the Sphinx was 15,000 years old. He knows what he's talking about, and he says that the sun is on a 10,000 year cycle where they have a major EMP, and he thinks that that's what ended the Ice Age and killed the mammoths and wiped out Atlantis. That's what he thinks. And there's a chance that the pyramids were built as machines to deflect that. He thinks that they're machines that drew from the aquifer under the pyramids with the way the stones were, because they can get an electricity charge, and it can be an amplifier. And then they put the casing stones around the pyramids as an insulator, so that the granite and the electromagnetic sandstone inside the pyramid would generate the electricity and hold it in there. By the other sandstone, it doesn't have the electromagnetism in it. And that's why the cuts are so good. And Sherrie, you talk about reincarnation. If I told you what I can remember, you might not believe me. But I can remember things from that far back. I have images from that. And I see people doing things that just look like something out of a science fiction movie. So I just don't even think it's a real memory, because I see them levitating. I see them, making rocks move, floating around. And I can feel. I have dreams where I'm floating, like I'm flying. And I've had dreams where I'm floating above the ground, 3 inches above the ground, and blowing at the sand with my breath, and thinking it's funny, like a kid's memory. Well, that's the kind of stuff I remember. But you've got the luck of knowing who you were, but I don't know who I was. I just remember things. But basically, I think that the elites of the world know about what the high technology people could do back then. And regrettably, I think they got into the Hall of Records under the Sphinx, and that's why we have cell phones and all kinds of things that are based on radio waves, and that's why they were able to do 9/11, and they could transfer the energy from the hurricane that was coming towards New York, and that's how they got the energy that they needed to disintegrate the towers and all that good stuff. But why would why do they take their time? The fact that they don't just wipe us out and do whatever they want to do right now, why wait, means, I think, that we got a chance. There is something holding them back. Before I run out of time on my camera, the Rothschilds. My thing about the Rothschilds is, yeah, but no. I know what I'm talking about when it comes to Zionism. The Rothschilds just got on the train. They were given a job to do, and they were really good at it. But, Nathan Rothschild was the big famous one in England that really got England on the map. He basically started the, what we know as the British Empire of the 19th century. He got that rolling. And he was, with the Napoleonic Wars, and when Jefferson bought the Louisiana Purchase and all that kind of stuff. The Rothschilds were in on all the industrial backing of the United States and all the Jewish bankers here and all their agents, but there were Jews behind them. I'm talking about the Pirates of the Caribbean Jews, okay? The people that have William Shakespeare's manuscripts, the people that have the Emerald Tablets, the people that have the capstone of the Great Pyramid, okay? These guys, my main theory is that the really responsible Zionists, the Jews behind the Jews behind the Jews, they would never put their names out there. The Rothschilds put their names out there. That means that it's not them. It wouldn't be that dumb. They walk around. You can go downtown in London and you can see Jacob Rothschild. If you stand in there long enough, you'll see him. You know where he goes. There's these 3 investment firms that he always meets with people every morning. And he just kind of moseys down the street. They got film of him just walking down the street with his Java, his son, If they were just these demon people that are screwing the whole world, you think they would walk around? No. They'd have elaborate tunnels under everywhere, and that's how they would get around. Yeah, but the people behind them, they live in the tunnels. They live in the penthouses, and they don't ever go outside. And they don't have their name on anything. They do everything by sign language. And they've got machines that will shut down machines so that no one can record them. They really got themselves protected. And I can close my eyes and see those people. Like, I know 9/11 was done by Chertoff and Wolfowitz and Netanyahu and Ehud Barak and Shimon Peres, you know, the big dogs, Silverstein, they all were in on it, but they were given instructions, okay? And really, really brilliant scientists did the 9/11 towers going down and everything. And then there was stuff on television where, yeah, they did put CGI plane stuff on the television live. It was a mix of things. The planes did hit the buildings, but they put the bogus stuff on the television just to make people throw off into that direction. Say, oh, it wasn't even planes. Look, it's CGI. See, they think about all that stuff ahead of time. They get people chasing their tails and fighting with each other, and that's how they diffuse the opposition. It's brilliant, actually, you know. What do we see? We see a bunch of us making vids and yelling at each other and calling each other names and fighting with the trolls in the comment threads. Does anybody get a rally together or a lawsuit? No. You see Alex Jones and Jesse Ventura saying, oh, meet us in Central Park, and we are going to devise a plan on how to go into the Supreme Court and make sure Barack Obama is thrown out of office. Okay? If they were on our side, they would do that. They, the powers that be, do not give money to people that would potentially do that. That's the main little rule.